Hello, my name is Sherry Newland, and I am the Test Development Manager for Science at New Meridian Corporation, the company that produced the Maine Science Assessment. Today, I'm going to be walking you through some documentation of Achievement Level Descriptors, otherwise known as ALDs, to aid in your understanding of their development, as well as how they can be used. So what are ALDs? The Achievement Level Descriptors document is intended to be used as a guideline to describe the 4 levels of achievement or levels of student mastery of the standards of instruction, science, and engineering that have been identified by the Maine Department of Education. This document is made to support the effective teaching and assessment of Maine K-12 science and engineering instructional programs, as well as to guide the standard setting process for the Maine Science Assessment, which will be done by Maine educators along with New Meridian staff in July of 2022. The ALDs are written to align with the next generation science standards topics. Maine adopted the next generation science standards as their science standards. The NGSS topics are standards that are grouped to show the natural connections between the disciplinary core ideas, otherwise known as DCIs. To support the intent of the standards for science instruction and assessment in Maine, all science and engineering practices, also known as SEPs, and cross-cutting concepts, also known as CCCs, can be used interchangeably with any of the DCIs, not just the ones found in the performance expectations, or PEs. It's the intent that the SEP and CCC are selected to enhance the application of the DCIs to make sense of a phenomenon presented in the scenario. The policy achievement levels for Maine. The policy achievement levels for Maine go to 4 levels. So a level 1 student is considered well below state expectations. We would expect a student's work at this level to demonstrate minimal understanding of essential concepts in science. A level 2 student is considered to be below state expectations. This student's work demonstrates an incomplete understanding of essential concepts of science and inconsistent connections. A student on the Maine Science Assessment is considered to be at state expectations. We would expect a student's work at this level to demonstrate an adequate understanding of essential concepts of science, including the ability to make connections among central ideas. Finally, a student at level 4 on the Maine Science Assessment is considered to be above state expectations. A student at this level's work demonstrates a thorough understanding of essential concepts in science, including the ability to make multiple connections among central ideas. At standard setting, these levels will be matched to scores on the Maine Science Assessment such that a student achieving a certain score can be categorized into one of the 4 levels. How to read this document and the process used for development. The NGSS topic will be listed in the left top corner of every page of the ALD documentation, and it's a clickable link if you're looking at an online version that will take you to the NGSS topic page that you clicked on. The achievement level descriptor for each of the 4 levels of achievement, the well below, below, at, and above state expectations are going to run along the top. The ALD statements are combinations of grade level DCIs, which will always be shown in orange and regular font, SEPs, which will be shown in blue and underlined, and CCCs, which will be shown in green and italicized. These statements are exemplar targets that have been constructed by New Meridian science staff, along with feedback from the Maine Department of Education. Again, the intention is to demonstrate that any DCI can be combined with any SEP and any CCC for a particular topic and grade level. The left column is going to contain the exact test of the grade level DCI included within a topic. These are pulled directly from the NGSS documents. For each grade, for most topics, each DCI for each topic is met at least once and at least once of the 4 achievement levels. This will help to show that any DCI can be achieved at any of the 4 levels. It depends on what it's combined with that determines the level that it's at. The grade level DCI, SEP, and CCC that were used in the exemplar target are listed below each ALD. The SEPs were pulled from the NGSS SEP matrix found from the NGSS site, and the link is included, as well as the CCCs, and that link is included here as well. Below the table, it will say reference DCIs. So these are statements or DCIs that were meant to ensure that the ALDs were targeting the grade level being assessed rather than the grade level above it or the grade level below it. This is an example ALD table showing the progression of a DCI. The DCI alone is not what determines the achievement level. Rather, it is the combination of all three dimensions. So for the exemplar DCI, all other achievement levels could be possible if combined with different SEPs and/or different CCCs. These documents just give the 4 exemplars per NGSS topic rather than following through each and every DCI for all 4 achievement levels, as that would lead to hundreds of pages. You can see here that the DCI is PS1A, Structure and Properties of Matter. So a student that would get a question right that we would consider to be well below state expectations, for that DCI, if we combine it with the SEP of SEP4, evaluate, represent data to reveal patterns that indicate that materials can be identified based on their properties and those properties are suitable for different purposes, that particular combination of SEP, CCC, and DCI leads to a task that a student at the well below state expectations could get right on the Maine Science Assessment. If we took that same DCI, PS1A, that materials can be identified based on their properties, and those properties are suitable for different purposes, and we combined that with a different SEP, such as use evidence to support an explanation, that increases the cognitive load on the student and could bump them up to being something that a student at below state expectations would get right on the Maine Science Assessment. So that might look like use evidence to support an explanation that materials can be identified based on their properties, and those properties are suitable for different purposes. Now, to go further up the achievement level scale to a student that would be performing at state expectations, a task on the Maine Science Assessment may look something more like plan an investigation to show that materials can be identified based on their properties, and those properties are suitable for different purposes. And then once again, crossing the threshold into the student that is performing above state expectations, a task at that level may include something like supporting an argument that materials can be identified based on their properties, and those properties are suitable for different purposes. And that may be in the format, say, of a constructed response item that the student would have to get both points correct on to be considered above state expectations. So you can see that the DCI itself is not what determines the achievement level. Rather, it's that unique combination of the SEP, the CCC, and the DCI that determines the achievement level. And they can be mixed and matched throughout the Maine Science Assessment. Next, I'm going to walk you through how to read each of the ALD pages. All the ALD pages follow the same format. In the top left corner is the topic name and link to the NGSS topic page. You can see here that it's 5.Earth Systems. That indicates that it's a 5th grade standard topic, and the topic name is Earth Systems. You can, if you're looking at an online version, you can click on that link and it'll take you to the NGSS page for that topic. Next are the achievement levels set forth by the Maine Department of Education. Those 4 achievement levels, well below state expectations, below state expectations, at state expectations, and above state expectations. Those are going to be associated with scale scores for how the students perform on the Maine Science Assessment. The main text in these documents are the ALDs themselves, achievement level descriptors, and what we have here are those exemplar targets. Remember, those are those unique combinations of SEP, CCC, and DCI that shows an example of a task that a student could do on the Maine Science Assessment and be considered at each of these levels. Each one of those exemplar targets contains the 3 dimensions of the NGSS. So here we have the DCI, the disciplinary core idea. Remember that that is always in orange and regular font. So the DCI code is off to the left in the box here. You can see that this one is ESS2.C, the roles of water in Earth's surface processes, and then the full statement from the NGSS is located there. You can see the part of the exemplar target that is the DCI, that the majority of water found on Earth is saltwater. So that is the piece of content knowledge that the student would know. So those are the DCIs. We also have the SEPs, and those are in blue and underlined. So each exemplar target has a science and engineering practice associated with it, and which practice that is identified in this row at the bottom. So in this case, it's SEP5, which we would group as evaluate. And so the beginning of that SEP is use graphs and or charts to compare alternative solutions. The third dimension is the CCC, the cross-cutting concept. There are 7 possibilities for that. That is listed in green text and italicized. So here you can see for this particular exemplar target that the CCC is CCC4, which is systems and system models. And the part of the exemplar target that discusses that is when it mentions Earth's major systems. Finally, at the very bottom of the page are the reference DCIs. I talked about those a little bit earlier. Those were just to make sure that all 4 of the achievement levels are on grade level. So if this is a grade 5 topic, that these are all something a 5th grader should be doing, not something that a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th grader should be doing, or something that's middle school appropriate. So the DCI that we referenced that was most similar to the topic of Earth systems came from 2nd grade. That water is found in the ocean, rivers, lakes, and ponds. Water exists as solid ice and in liquid form. So you can see none of the exemplar targets mention that particular piece of content knowledge because that would be below grade level. So that was kind of the threshold to not go to. And then same thing with the above, which in this case came from high school. The Earth systems being dynamic and interacting cause feedback effects that can increase or decrease the original changes. So the above state expectation is still a 5th grade level. So while it talks about interactions between 2 of Earth's major systems, it does not go so far as to discuss any feedback effects. Each of the pages of per grade is going to look similar to this without all the arrows and have the same components for every topic for the NGSS. So there's 15 for middle school and high school and 4 for grade 5. I hope this has been helpful to help your understanding and how to read the achievement level descriptor documentation and how to make sense of it. Thank you for your time.